Hey everybody, this is Steve Krause and welcome to English 505 for fall 2010. This is just going to be a fairly short video just covering some of the basics of where we're going in the class. I assume that everyone's going to read the course materials and I have that on a screen over here. First of all, what the class is. The class is the one theory-oriented class that's required for students in the professional writing program. What we're doing is we're studying rhetoric, which is, in the most simple terms, the theory of persuasion and how persuasion works and how it applies to the worlds around us, as it were. But it's, as you'll see soon enough, it's more complicated than that. To make matters even more complicated, we're also studying of how rhetoric works in relationship with science and technology, and what is science and what is technology. So you get the idea. There's one required book. It's this one, Ancient Rhetorics for Contemporary Students. This is actually the teacher copy, but and I have a link to it on the website. It's I chose this book this time around for a couple of reasons. I have in the past asked students to read Aristotle's Rhetoric, the original Rhetoric, if you will. That's a little bit overkill for the purposes of the class, and I just decided to go with something different this time around. What's interesting about this book is that it's actually designed to be a book for a first-year composition course, or maybe a research writing course or an argumentation course for undergraduates. So that's why the book, it's a textbook, and it looks like a writing class textbook because that's exactly what it is. But I first encountered this book as a graduate student in a class not unlike this one, where we were being introduced to different concepts of what is rhetoric and what are the canons and what were the basic sort of presumptions of the ancients and how did it apply to more contemporary rhetorics and such. And I've always thought it to be a very thoughtful and interesting and well crafted book. But I just want to point out, it's not a book designed for a class like this. It's really a book designed for a 100, 200, 300 level class. So when you see those sort of disconnects in the text that sound kind of like something you hear in a freshman composition class, that's why that's the case. But hopefully you'll find it useful and interesting. But that's the one book you need to get. Everything else is going to be available electronically, either on e-reserves or through links on the course schedule. Let me say a couple of things about the fact that the class is online. I've already given everybody a lot of warnings about things that you need to be careful about. You need to have internet access. You need to be self-disciplined to participate in the class. Under no circumstances will technology be offered as an excuse. If you're going to go out of town for an extended period of time, you're going to want to take your laptop with you and make sure you have internet access and so forth. I just want to mention two other things that are important to keep in mind about the online nature of things. The first thing is that this class is analogous to what it is. It's a small graduate a seminar, where the way that it will function is we interact with each other, we talk with each other. It's not a one-to-one correspondence where I just give you a bunch of lecture notes and a bunch of stuff to read and you just do some sort of test or something like that. It's not like a lecture hall class. So keep that in mind. Because it falls into the second thing that I wanted to mention here, which is you have flexibility in terms of we don't meet at a particular time, and you can engage in the class in a variety of different times of the day, but you don't have flexibility in the sense that I expect people to begin participating in the class on Mondays and Wednesdays, and we'll talk about that when we get to the schedule. An online class will take you at least as much time as a face-to-face class, and probably more. So that means that you should anticipate spending at least 3 hours a week on the class website. And that's not even talking about the reading, which will take you considerably more time than that. So it's not, like I've said before, it's not a time saver, it's a time shifter. So keep that in mind as we start entering into the term here. The class is basically broken up into three parts. The first part is participation, and I talk a lot about that in the syllabus, in the course description, and you can read that. The one thing I wanted to emphasize that I talk about here is the way I want you to read things. And we will begin talking about this again. We will talk again about this. We will talk about this again as the term goes on. But bear in mind that the stuff that we're going to be reading this term is not easy reading. it's not a recipe for how to bake a cake, and it's certainly not the kind of like light fiction that you might read on the beach. A lot of this is really, really heavy stuff. One other thing about participation, or two other things about participation. The first thing is that we will have a number of unofficial, informal, non-required, but strongly encouraged face-to-face gatherings. The camaraderie is nice, but also what's nice about it is that it gives you a chance to, especially with some of these readings and some of these assignments, to get into a little bit more detail that's easier to do in a face-to-face setting than it is in an online setting. The second thing I mentioned about participation is that you will be entering into a dialogue with me to talk about the grade for participation. We'll do this somewhere in the middle of the term and somewhere at the end of the term, just to let you know that we'll get to that soon enough. There's the second part of the class is the 2 short rhetorical analysis projects. I'm trying something different this term. I've divided the class in half basically, where what I want you to do, instead of having a, for lack of a better way of putting it, high stakes seminar paper that I ask everyone to do at the end of the term, instead I'm going to ask everyone to do 2 shorter essays that will give you a chance to sort of explore some things in a more experimental way, in a more tentative way, in a way that is more about the process, and also gives you 2 tries. Finally, there's a final. The final is actually an interesting experiment for me this year too, because it's actually worth a fair amount. Usually I give a final that's a sort of just to keep everybody honest and minimal sort of thing. This is actually worth 1/3 of the grade. So this final will matter, and it's and that too will make some sense as we get closer to the end. Again, I'm trying to experiment a little bit in terms of with some of the writing projects for the class, and even though the final is a higher stakes final, because the 2 short rhetorical analysis projects are over 30% of the grade, I figured between those 2 assignments, it's a little less high stakes than if it was just 1 essay for the term, if that makes sense. Let me also talk briefly about the schedule. And I'm clicking on the schedule over here on this other page. And I just want to talk everything. This is the schedule as it is right now. Certainly there will be some changes as the term goes along. As you can see, what you have here is a situation. What you have here is what we'll be discussing for a particular part of the week, and links to the readings or an explanation. So for example, next week we're going to start discussing there's a link there to something about Burke's unending conversation metaphor in terms of entering a parlor. We're going to read Gorgias's Encomium of Helen, which is an ancient text, and we're going to read and discuss chapter 1 of Carly and how he is ancient Rex for contemporary students. You'll notice it says begin Monday and end by complete by Wednesday. What I mean by begin is that I expect everyone in class to post about these readings on the website as the opportunities come up by Monday. Okay, it's critical that everyone does that, because we're going to begin the conversation on Monday. Everyone needs to enter into the dialogue on Monday, and then we'll continue it through about Wednesday. And then on Wednesday, it starts all over again. And I'm not going to read through those things, but you see the you see the readings there. Begin by Wednesday and complete by Friday, and then you'll and then we'll start talking about it. We'll talk about those readings beginning Wednesday and complete on Friday. One of the things that's interesting about an online class versus a face-to-face class is that in the online class, the only way that you can demonstrate that you're participating and paying attention to the class is to actually participate. In a face-to-face class, you can demonstrate participation by sort of, listening thoughtfully to your classmates. That doesn't work in an online class because I can't look into the computer and see you sitting at home paying attention. So it's really, really critical that everybody jumps in and posts comments to the blog posts on this site and starts participating as soon as they can. Okay. I think that's about it for now. Underneath here, there is a place where you can post initial comments introducing yourselves, and you can set up a gravatar so you can have a little picture. I have a little link for that, and this is where the discussions will take place. So welcome aboard, and I'll see you online.